Yeah, don't put me in weird mess.
We're live.
Okay, so this week I'm going to try to answer a question that has been bugging me for years. But before I get to the question, first I'm going to do a quick Parsha summary. Okay, we're in Parshat Vayechi. So this week, Yaakov makes Yosef swear that he won't bury him in Egypt, right? He says, where does he want to be buried? With his parents. Okay, back in Hebron, where his wife Leah is buried, where his grandfather is buried, where his father is buried, okay? So he makes him swear, saying, please, please don't bury me here. Take my bones back, okay? Then Yaakov blesses Manasseh and Ephraim. Remember this whole move? Okay? Okay? Then Yaakov blesses the tribes, and he gives them these weird crypto brachas, right? Very weird crypto brachas. If you want to spend a really interesting afternoon on the internet, find out when Binyamin was blessed to be like a wolf, guys. That's a really interesting...
I'm going to do that now.
Seriously, I'm telling you, I'm going to give you a hint. Werewolves. Legitimately werewolves. Anyway, okay. So then Yaakov dies, and his sons take him to be buried in Hebron with his fathers. And then Yosef and his brothers have another, like, but really, bro, did you actually forgive us moment, right? So they're like, but now that Dad's dead, are you still real mad about it? And he's like, no, everything worked out. It's fine. I forgive you. And then he gives them the secret code of the redemption, which is like, when the guy says this, you're going to be taken out. Yosef passes away. He's buried in Mitzrayim. Anybody know where he's buried in Mitzrayim?
The Nile.
In the Nile. They put him in an iron coffin, and they sink the coffin into the Nile. This was Yosef's instructions because he didn't want anybody worshiping at his tomb, which was kind of like a big thing in Egypt, right? They built giant tombs and worshiped them. Okay, so he's like, sink me into the Nile River, but take me out. He says the same thing his dad said. When you leave, take me out. Don't let me be buried here. Okay? And then the Parsha ends, and with that, that's the whole book of Bereshit. That's the end. And the next book is Shmos, and it's going to take us into the story of Exodus from Egypt. Okay? Yetziat Mitzrayim. So what's the question that's always been bugging me? Why were we exiled into Egypt? Like, why did the Egyptian exile have to happen? I get why we came out. Why did we have to be exiled into Egypt? Like, I know why the exiles from Eretz Israel happened after the first Beis HaMikdash and after the second Beis HaMikdash. Okay, so the first Beis HaMikdash, anybody know why were we exiled? We did bad. Good. Which bad did we do? The bad. Okay, which is the bad? Yeah, we did the three big bads. We did Avodah Zarah, we did Shifchut Damim, and we did Gilui Arayos. Okay, we did foreign worship, we spilt blood, and we did improper sexual activity, right? Yeah. No, you don't want to do that. Okay, so then we get exiled. We go to Babylon, we're out for 70 years, we come back. Why did we get exiled from the second Beis HaMikdash? Sinat Chinam and Lashon Hara, right? Okay, so I know why we got exiled those two times. But why did we get exiled to Egypt? Okay, great. So this is actually a way more complicated question than you'd think. And there's a lot of different opinions, and there's a lot of different debate, and there's a lot of different reasons why we got exiled. Okay, but they seem to fall into two major camps. Camp one is, we did bad, and we got punished by going to Mitzrayim. Okay, so there's also a debate about who did bad. Okay, so one of the most famous explanations is this first one. Okay, it goes like this. And Rabba ben Mahanaseah said, and Rab Hama ben Guria said, that Rab said, okay, this is a section from Talmud. You can always tell it's a section from Talmud because it starts with he said, that he said, that he said, that he said, in a brisa. Okay, so this is a section of the Talmud from Shabbat 10b. And it says, a person should never distinguish one of his sons from among the other sons by giving him preferential treatment. As due to the weight of 2 selah of fine wool that Jacob gave Yosef, beyond what he gave to the rest of the sons, in making him that special coat, his brothers became jealous of him, the matter unfolded, and our forefathers descended into Egypt. The Talmud says, you played favorites, your kids got jealous, they had this crazy battle thing, throw him in a pit, he gets sold, we end up in Egypt. Simple. So it's Yaakov's fault. Step 1. And also a little bit the brother's fault, right? It wasn't like he made them be jealous, but like you started it. Don't play favorites. Yeah.
But like we already knew before that they were gonna be like strangers and a
Good. Okay, so that all works and that makes sense, except we already knew this was gonna happen. You got to go back a little bit more in the story. Okay, we go back to Parshat Lech Lecha. Okay, this is Abraham Avinu. He's already Lech Lecha. Okay, he's left. He's coming to Eretz Yisrael. He's gone down to Egypt. He came back up from Egypt. He has a lot of stuff. Okay, Lot leaves. Bye, peace. Okay, he goes and lives up with the other people. Abraham fights a war with the 4 kings and the 5 kings. Okay, miraculously saved with some magical dust. Seriously, read the Midrash here. It's amazing. Okay, and then we make peace. Melchizedek comes out. He's like, hey, what's up? And Abraham's like, what's up? I'm not going to take anything. Okay, awesome. Abraham wins the war. Boom. Then Hashem comes and is like, Abraham. And Abraham was nervous because he's really afraid that, like, maybe I used up all my zchut in that war, like, maybe things aren't going to go so well for me. And Hashem is like, Avram, let's make a pact. And then becomes one of the most bizarre episodes in Bereshit, which is Brit HaBetarim. Okay, the covenant of the pieces, where God is like, I want you to take the following animals, I want you to cut them in half, and line them up next to each other, and then I'm going to send this interesting like torch flame thing going to run between them, and I'm going to tell you what's going to happen with your children, and I'm going to make some promises. And one of the things that God says at the very end of that whole episode, he says like this. He says, Abraham, you shall surely know that your seed will be strangers in a land that is not theirs. They will enslave them and oppress them for 400 years. And also the nation that they will serve, I will judge. And afterwards they will go forth with great possessions. So Abraham is sitting here at this great moment where God's like, I'm going to give you this land, and everything's going to be amazing. By the way, your kids are going to get exiled for 400 years, and it's going to be really, really rough, but it's going to come out. I'm going to get them out of there. I'm going to make the people who made them suffer, and they're going to have a whole lot of stuff. And don't worry about you, because you're going to go in peace down to your fathers. Got out. This is really trippy. Why? Why? Why does this have to happen? Why do we have to go out? Why does Abraham need to know this? Like, also, why does Abraham need to know this? So a bunch of the commentators say that Abraham needs to know this because it's, remember we're talking about this is all somebody's fault? It's Abraham's fault. Abraham did something that made this whole exile decree come down. And there's a debate about what. Okay, one of the things is also from the Gemara in Nedarim 32a. Okay, and they say 3 different things that Abraham did wrong. Number 1, in the war of the 4 kings and the 5 kings, he took his Talmidim out to fight with them, his students. But his students were actually Torah scholars, and there's a prohibition from disturbing Torah scholars from their Torah scholaring, from taking people away from Torah study. So God was like, you know what? You took people away from Torah study, bam, your kids are going in exile. Reason number 2 is at the beginning of Brit HaBetarim, Abraham says to God, God's like, by the way, your kids are going to inherit this land. It's going to be amazing. And Abraham's like, how will I know? And God's like, how will I know? I'm God. What do you mean, how will I know? Don't ask me questions like that. Bam, your kids are getting exiled. Okay, the third opinion is when he went in the war, he distanced people from entering under the wings of divine providence because he said to the king of Sodom, give me the people and take the stuff. If he'd allowed the people to remain with him at the end of that war, he could have helped them find God. Remember, Abram was the original Kiruv innovator, right? Abraham goes out and brings in the guys, Sarah brings in the women. Yeah, they were running the original Chabad house, okay, bringing all the people back. If he'd taken the people from Sodom with him, he could have turned it all around. He could have been like, hey guys, there's a God, let's talk it through, have some dinner, right? But he didn't. He was like, you know what, just take it. And he missed an opportunity. And God was like, you missed an opportunity to reach out for people, bam, your kids are getting exiled. Another opinion that it was also Abraham's fault comes from the Ramban. This is a more famous one. Anybody know what the Ramban says? Okay, so the Ramban says like this. Everything about Abraham's going down to Egypt, remember I said at the beginning of this, he comes across the river and then he goes down to Egypt. Why did Abraham go down to Egypt?
There was a famine.
There was a famine. Does that sound familiar? Going down to Egypt for a famine? Didn't that just happen? All right. Yaakov went down to Egypt because there was a famine. Right, so the Ramban reads this whole story of Abraham's going down as a mirror, as a Maseh Avot Siman Lebanim. The deeds of the father parallel what's going to happen to the children. He says everything that happened with Abraham is going to happen to the kids. Okay, so they go down, right? As soon as they get down, Sarah gets taken. Did you ever notice something really weird about the Egypt story?
All of it.
The whole story, legit. But remember when they decide, like, we're going to kill all the Jews. Sorry, this is like a little bit of a preview for coming attractions next week, okay? They're like, kill all the Jews. They're like, throw all the boys in the river. You want to stop there being more Jews. Who do you kill?
The girls.
The girls. I want to stop the Jewish people from reproducing. Kill the chicks, not the guys. The girls make the babies make the Jews. If you're trying to get rid of the Jews, don't kill the guys. Also, if you're running a slave operation, why would you kill all the guys? They're the better workers. They're more useful. They carry the big bricks. Why are you killing all the... What? Why do you kill the boys? Anyone ever thought about this? This is really, like...
No.
It's so random. Why you
That's so
throw the
true.
baby boys in the river? That's stupid. Like, kill the chicks. But what he says is, he specifically says, kill the baby boys, but leave the girls alive. He spells it out. Why? Let's go back to the Abraham story. What happens? Sarah Imenu rocks up to Mitzrayim, and she's gorgeous. Amazingly beautiful. Unbelievably stunning. And Paro's people see her, and they're like, to Paro now. Guess what? Nothing has changed. The Egyptians were dying to have a Jewish woman. They were all about the Yiddish beauty. No, you enjoy your Yiddish beauty. You've got Yiddish beauty. It's desirable. You enjoy that, right? But there was this big problem, is that the Jewish girls were having none of this. We're not having any of this. They were not playing the reindeer games, right? They were just not down. So what was Paro's super duper idea?
If there's no guys, they have to marry us.
Right, let's make a shit-up crisis. Right, we kill all the dudes, and then the chicks will have no one to be with, and we will get the Yiddish beauties. It's the same thing, replaying itself. Well, what happens? What happens when Paro takes Sarah? He gets struck. Makkah, he gets hit. Guess what they're gonna get? Hit at the end. And then Abraham goes out, and what does he go out with? Rakush Gadol. He goes out with tons of swag, tons and tons of stuff. And what do we go out with when we leave Egypt? Tons and tons of stuff. It's a mirror story. So what does the Ramban learn from this? He says it's not just a mirror story because, interesting. It's a mirror story because it was Abraham's fault. When the famine hit Israel, Abraham's job was not to run to Egypt, it was to stay. Here's how he puts it. You should know that our father Abraham committed a great sin, unintentionally, in which he brought his righteous wife to stumble into transgression because of his fear of getting killed. He should have trusted Hashem to save him, his wife, and all that was his, because Hashem has the power to help him save. And his going out from the land, which he had been commanded to go to, due to the famine, was a transgression he committed, because Hashem could have saved him from dying even in a famine. And because of this deed, it was decreed that his seed would be in exile in Egypt under the hand of Pharaoh. Okay, so far it's Yaakov's fault, and kind of the brother's fault, and maybe it was Avram's fault. But the Radak is going to bring one more explanation. The Radak says the exile was always meant to happen, but it wasn't meant to be terrible. We were going to be exiled. It was going to be unpleasant, but it was going to be horrible. Why is it horrible? Because how we behaved when we got there. So originally, last Parsha, right? We go to Egypt and we settle into one region. Where was it? Goshen. Okay, great. Okay, so we're living in Goshen. We even have our like synagogues and like little like Beit Midrash and like I don't know like the JCC and the Nashe. Okay, we got like the whole setup going on, right? Like Jewish Little League. Okay, we've got the whole little setup going. B'nai Akiva. Okay, like all of the communal foundations that we need to have. Jew camp. Okay, great. So we have all of this going on in Goshen, and guess what happens? People move out of the ghetto. They moved out of the neighborhood. They decided to try life in the suburbs. And when they did, they lost connection. And they started to act like the Egyptians. And they started to take on the qualities of their neighbors that weren't so nice. Here's how it says. This comes from Ezekiel, okay? This comes from within our own Torah. It says, they rebelled against me. This is Hashem talking, saying, they, Bnei Israel, rebelled against me, Hashem. And they did not want to obey me. None of them threw away the detestable things that they saw, and they did not abandon the idols of Egypt. Okay, they went out and they started behaving like the neighbors. So I decided to pour my anger out upon them and drain my wrath against them in the land of Egypt. It wasn't going to be bad. It was just going to be like, okay, you got to go hang out outside, like temporary waiting period, and then go back to Israel. But then you guys didn't follow the rules. You decided to go all crazy and start doing stuff that you're not supposed to do, and you totally forgot about me, and you totally forgot about our relationship, and you know what? You're not acting like Avram Avinu's kids. So you know what? Slavery. So that's one camp, is the idea that it was a punishment. The reason we got exiled to Egypt was a punishment, which kind of makes sense because that's what we learned all the other exiles were, punishments, right? But there's another idea that happens here, is that the exile to Egypt wasn't a punishment, it was a process. It was a step in the process. Okay? So this is mostly the approach taken by the Maharal in his book, Netzach Yisrael, okay, which if you haven't read, classic read, excellent story. Little complicated, but good. Okay, so what he says is basically Egypt was the polar opposite of Israel. Like dark to light. You want to learn what something is, you have to go to its opposite to understand it, what the Maharal says. You want to understand light, you got to have dark. You want to understand black, you have to have white. You have to have contrast in order to understand something. Contrast gives us understanding. So he said when he put Israel into Egypt, it provided the contrast for Israel to figure out who Israel was. He put them in the midst of gross depravity. Okay, like Egypt, if you have like a major sin category, you know, like they majored in college, some people major in art or dance. Egypt majored in like sexual immorality. Okay, it was him with her, with he, with she, with that, with the neighbor, with the postman, with the dog. Right? No, literally. Like they was all up in everybody with everybody. Okay, in the plague of the firstborn, more than one kid would die in each household. Because it was the firstborn of every mom and dad together. So mom was with dad, but she was also kind of with the neighbor, and also kind of with the barber, and also with that one guy who came to fix the radiator that one time. Like, they'd be mixing. Right? So, like, it was just, there were so many firstborns. Right? Like, Egypt was all kinds of that. And so, by putting Israel into that situation, they could be like, you're not like this, okay? Your identity is not this. I'm going to give you contrast to know who you are. And also, I'm going to give you an understanding of what servitude is. What being an Eved is. What being a slave is. Because then later, you can be an Eved for me. You're going to understand that concept. I'm going to give you that so you understand it. So then later, when I'm like, hey, let's be Avedim to Hashem, you're going to know what I'm talking about. Right? And then I'm going to blow it up. I'm going to show you amazing wonders. I'm going to use this slavery moment to be like, hi, I'm God. I'm going to split some seas. Like, it's going to be amazing. This is a step in the process for you to become my chosen people. This is what the Maharal argues. So this is the thing is that both of these camps make sense to me, but neither one really satisfies me. I mean, I hear the punishment thing, and I hear the process thing, but neither one of those ever really satisfied my need for an answer. So I just learned today this amazing piece from Rav Moshe Shapiro, Zichron Tzadik Livracha, who was one of my husband's Rebbeim, who just passed away, like, last year. And I think it really ties everything together. So it's a little Kabbalistic. Okay. Whatever, that's how I roll. Okay? So here's how it goes. Rav Moshe Shapiro says, for us to understand Mitzrayim, we have to go back to how the Zohar understands the word Mitzrayim. The Zohar understands the word Mitzrayim as being two words put together. Metzer, Yam. Okay, Metzer, Yam. So Metzer means to constrict. Okay? And Yam means sea. Like from sea to shining sea. Okay? So Mitzrayim is the place that constricts the sea. Okay? You with me? Cool. So now, if we're constricting the sea, what am I talking about? The Nile. No. But the sea. Okay, cool. Yamsu. But no. Because we're going to go deeply Kabbalistic. Okay, ready? Here we go. Hold on to your hats, ladies. Or married ladies. Okay, here we go. The Yam, in terms of Kabbalah, means the infinite. Okay? Yam is that which is without border. Okay? The sea is without border. Okay, because technically, if you think about it, all the seas in the world are actually connected into one big giant sea, right? Without border. It's not like you can be like, Atlantic, stop here. No, the sea is without end. It runs and it runs and it runs. And also, in Gematria, Yam adds up to, come on y'all, 10, good, and 40, which adds together to 50. Okay, awesome, good job. Okay, here we go. So 50 is 7 represents our physical world. Yes? 7 times 7 equals the absolute limit of our physical world, 49, right? And 50 represents that which is beyond the limits of our physical world, that which is infinite, that which is just beyond the limit, the limitless, the infinite. So what is Mitzrayim? It is that which comes to constrict that which is infinite. And that's what Mitzrayim was all about, constricting the infinite. They had a God for everything. There was the God of the Nile, and the God of the death, and the God of the birth, and the God of the trees, and the God of the cows, and the God of the this, and the God of the God. If you want to spend a really long afternoon on Wikipedia, go look up Egyptian gods for all the things. There was a God for everything. And what one God could do, the other God couldn't do, and they did not share territory. The God of the Nile could not handle birth, and the God of death could not handle the Nile, and nobody dealt with anybody else, and everybody had their own thing. Even their magic had its limits, right? They could do magical, amazing, they could turn water into blood. Like, they could do all these things, except we can only work in magic, but nothing smaller than a piece of lice. Then magic doesn't work. Everything had a limit, right? Everything was limited. Even us, as soon as we got down there, we got limited. Both within ourselves, we started being like, ooh, I want a God for everything and its brother. I want a God for Thursdays, right? We started getting limited. We started limiting ourselves. And then we got limited. It started out as like nice indentured servitude, and then it got into crazy, and then it went into crazier, and then they were putting babies in walls. Everything about Mitzrayim was about limits. And then God showed up. And God was like, I would like to explain to you who I am. I am that without limits. See, by us, there's no God of Wednesday, Thursday, death, Nile. There's God of everything. Our God has no limits. Our God doesn't ever stop. There's no end to our God. There's no end to what he does. Nature is just a farce. Our God is beyond all of that. And what did he come down to show in Egypt? That there is no nature. There's nothing here. You put up limits. You think your Nile's a god? I'm going to make it blood. Oh, I'm sorry. Your goddess of midwifery happens to have a frog head. You know what? I'm just going to make frogs come out of everywhere. I'm going to set some snow on fire and throw it at your people. 'Cause I can. I'm going to make darkness everywhere except for my people. 'Cause I can. I'm going to do what I want because there's no limits to me. I am unlimited. And then I'm going to take my people out of here because they have no limits either. You can't hold them. They're mine. No limits. I am Hashem. There is no limit to me. Mitzrayim, you want to metzer the yam? We're going to yetziah Mitzrayim. We're going to come out of that mentality. But here's the trippiest thing. We get out, and Hashem says, guys, I want you to connect with me, but here's how. I want you to choose to limit yourselves. I'm going to give you limits, and if you choose those limits, you can connect to the limitlessness. Choose to accept limits and connect to the infinite. Every time you choose to constrict your choices, free will, you can connect to that which has no limits to it at all. And if we go back to the reasons for this exile, it all kind of starts to make sense. Because what were all of those mistakes? Were people not holding themselves back from something? Like, Yaakov, we know you love Yosef, but like, hold back on the special coat, buddy. Hold back on the coat, right? Abraham, like, I know you're scared of the famine, but hold back at the border. Don't cross. Don't go down, right? Israel, I know you're in Egypt, but like, don't leave the neighborhood. It's not going to go well. Limit yourselves. And all those times when we could have limited ourselves, we didn't. Hashem's like, okay, you know what? We're going to go to a place of limits. So you can see how to be limited. And remember that whole idea of the crucible? Hashem's like, I'm going to make you be so limited. I'm going to have so much pressure come on you. I'm going to make pressure and limits and put you in this tiny thing. And then I'm going to free you. Because what I want you to do is say, no, 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 no. They put limits on me. Don't put limits on me. But me, I'll limit me. I'll limit me. I'll choose. From my free choice, from my own desire, I will limit me to connect to the infinite. I will metzer myself. But by metzering myself, by limiting myself, by contracting all of my options, by contracting myself just a little bit, I can connect to the yam. I can connect to that which has no limits whatsoever. And I think that's a really beautiful idea to help us transition from Bereshit, which is the story of these amazing tzaddikim, which is like on a good day, I'm like holding it together. I'm not holding by like the level of any of these people. Like, I got up this morning and made my bed. I feel like I did something, like they're out there converting all the people to monotheism, and I'm like, well, I did some laundry, right? So like, it's hard for me to connect sometimes to those great stories of these super tzaddikim, and it's hard for me to connect to like the suffering that we went through in Egypt, because like, I know I should feel like I came out of Egypt, but like, I can't connect to that. Like, oh, Hashem, I've never been there. I've never been like that. But can I connect to the idea of limiting myself? Yeah. Can I connect to the idea of that being hard? Yeah. But can I feel passion and freedom at the idea that I limit myself by free choice to connect to that which is infinitely greater and infinitely perfect and infinitely infinite? Yeah. do that. I can do that. Maybe we went down to Mitzrayim so that we could learn all of these things together. Because that's the thing, is that we also know that the galus of Mitzrayim is the key to all of the other exiles, right? It had all of the other exiles within them. This is a common statement by Chazal. So that's also the key to getting out of this exile, is to choose to limit ourselves. Hey, you know what? I really have something awesomely hilarious to say to rip that chick up. I'm going to go ahead and limit myself. I'm going to, you know what? That's kind of why the base of Mikdash isn't here right now, because we like to talk smack behind other people's back. So I'm going to limit myself. You know what? That chick really annoys me. You know what? I'm going to limit myself. That hatred's not getting in. I'm going to put up the barrier. That hate stops here. Oh, that group of Jews sucks. You know what? Actually, no. I'm going to put up the wall. I'm going to limit that. I'm going to metzer myself. Hashem says to keep the Torah. You know what? I'm going to take it step by step. I'm going to bring those limits in with love and by choosing it. I'm going to limit myself to connect up to the Yom. And the more that we limit ourselves, and the more that we make those decisions, which, by the way, that's the key one right there. If we could just stop hating each other and just stop talking bad about each other, we'd already be out of this, guys. This would already be over. If we could just limit ourselves and connect back up to that infinite, connect back up to that which has no end, then there's no reason to be in Mitzrayim anymore. There's no reason to be in exile anymore. And Hashem will yetzianu us right out of this galus as well. Tomorrow we go into a fast day, which commemorates.
What fast is it?
It's the 10th of Tevet, which is the beginning of the siege of Jerusalem, which means that basically Nebuchadnezzar's big bad army surrounded Jerusalem and constricted them inside. It was the beginning of a siege that lasted for 3 years, which ultimately led to the first destruction of the base of Mikdash. And that constriction is something that we remember because it was the start of the end. We also know that those days of fast, as soon as we turn this around, are going to be turned into days of celebration. They're going to be the holidays in our calendar, not days of fasting and mourning. So I just bless us all that by learning to limit ourselves, learning to step back from the things that we know are just not what we need to be doing, what Hashem doesn't want from us, limiting ourselves and choosing to instead connect to that which is infinite, that tomorrow you'll come to my house for a festive meal. That this galus will be over. That Hashem will yetzian us up out of here. And that we'll be all heading to the base of Mikdash tomorrow. Amen.
Amen. Wow. Wow.